A little bit of a Druid report. I went over, because I was talking about numbers before, and I think I went over this again. I'm going to reiterate about our society and basically the Druid math system. Now, the Druid math system is basically the system that's been in play. I mean, if you take a look mathematically, yes, we have 4 distinct seasons, and there are 3 parts to it. And the reason why there's 3 parts to it, or 4 parts to it, these 3, is because there's always that changeover, because you don't want it to end on 9. Remember, 9's an ending, so you want to re-begin at a 3, which if you add 3 to 9, it's 12, and 1 and 2 is 3. So there's your starting point again. It's in our clocks. We have 12 hours in a day and 12 hours at night, making a 24-hour period. Now it starts over. It's night and day are 2 separate things. I mean, it's when Saul's here and when Saul's not. And of course it teeter-totters back and forth. But as far as humankind goes, we put it down the middle. We say this part is the day and this part is the night, and that changes over. You see, the night is the beginning of it all, and yet it's the end of it. So it's one of those things where it's kind of ambiguous. 9 o'clock is when it's, as everybody's getting ready to do their own thing, go to bed. And of course, by the time midnight comes along, we're all nested, and it begins again. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Well, by the time 3 or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock comes along, everybody's getting ready to go and get their stuff done. Especially if you're in the trades, you're usually getting up about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to get, because 5, 6 o'clock is when they start some of these operations up. So again, it's one of those things. And 9 to 5 again. 9 is the beginning, is the end. Right? It's an end point of something. It's the end point of your morning, and then that's when your day officially starts until about noon, and then that's really when it officially starts. But you got to have that ending point, so you got to have that before you can get to the beginning. It's kind of weird how that works, because you got to have, it's kind of like time ticking. Trying to figure that one out, because again, you got that midpoint, and it's in segments of 3. Another is, here I am, parked front of a school, which is a good example for the next set of 3s. Now, childhood is all based on 3s. You got your birth to 3, when you're basically allocation to your environment. That's why I put kitty mocha in your mouth, because again, you're trying to allocate your body to your new environment. And then when 3s come along, that's when you start your communication skills and interacting with objects. That's basically your second stage, which is basically just more social based, more communication based. And then of course you get to the schooling years, because now you're 6, and now all of a sudden this is definitely your social time, where you're getting to know not just the people, but the etiquette, the protocols, the cultural aspects, and that goes on until you're about 9. When you get to be on that 9, that's the end of that portion of your life, when you're just getting to the point where you can get your head around a lot of it. We're still not done. And then you got that, because that's the ending part, because from there it changes into the biological, as when your body starts beginning to change, and all of a sudden all that stuff comes into play. Up until about 12 years old, and then all of a sudden you're going, where am I in this world? Okay, that's when you get to that age. It's called the rebellious, because now all of a sudden you're trying to find your place. When you're rebellious, usually it's mild rebellious, trying to figure out what your niche is, where your cultural, where you want to be, but still you're not there yet. You got a little ways to go, and that's when 15 comes along, and that's basically the scary part for parents, because that's when everybody gets kind of curious on what's going on socially, sexually, and that's when parents start to get gray hair. Because that's the, and again, peer to peer, most of them are ignorant of it. And as long as you keep safety in mind, things will be okay. And of course, then you have the ethical structure. Uh, Good parents will say, "Hey, you got plenty of time," which you do. Got plenty of time. So there's that too that you could fall back on. And that one's the one I care for, because again, you got plenty of time here, people. You can, knowingness is one thing, experience is another. Got plenty of time to experience it. Knowingness is, and that's why I do believe in sexual education for young people. Parents and guardians need to be the ones that set the stage on that one. I'm a firm believer that is the parent and guardian's responsibility to set the stage. Okay, that's their part of their responsibility as parents and guardians, is to set the stage on that. Again, peer to peer, they're going to get that from their peers. We got the internet now we got to deal with, but I think higher education, understanding, and most importantly, respect for your body, because this is for young people. This is respect, baby, for you. You know, plenty of time. 15, 16, 17, this is when you're struggling with these questions. And not just that, other very, very important questions at 15. That's why I'm very supportive of at the age about 15, finding a career. I know at the age of 15, but tell you the truth, I like that, because again, knowledge is power. So even though you might not end up going into that trade or going into that, it's still going to benefit you in the long run there, young people. So from 15 to about 18, explore the world of careers or art, science, religion, anything that challenges your mind and helps you to learn more. Because that's really what you want to be doing during the 15 to about 21, tell you the truth. But then of course it changes, because you're still in school when you hit to about 18, and that's the end of your childhood. It's the 18, because 1 and 8 is of course 9, and that's when we get into Druid math again. Like 15 is the midway point in your what I like to call self-discovery and finding your place, because it doesn't end. Well, trust me, it might take you a lifetime to find your place, but that's when you really start looking for your place, is between the 15 and 21. That's when you start looking and getting on it. And like I said, that's why I like the Head Start program. I like all those programs that kind of get you into it, because again, knowledge is power. Knowledge gives you the tools. More the better. And then, of course, you get to be 18, and that's basically the end of the childhood. Not necessarily, it's kind of the beginning of the adulthood. Beginning, but still the end. And again, you've got still 3 years before you can actually join the party, is basically what that's all about. And that's good, because at 3 years, you turn an adult, and you still have to figure out where, because you're on your own. Well, you're not on your own. You got parents and friends and etc. But you kind of you got to make your own decisions from here on. You have to take responsibility for your life, and then you got 3 years to work on that. So I kind of like that little buffer zone, because again, you get thrown into the mix, and not to mention the fact that you do have peers and friends that are also catching up, which makes that 3 year period pretty good too, because you might be a little bit ahead or you might be a little bit behind. So that gives everybody an opportunity to kind of get caught up too. So again, like I said, stages. When you get to be about 21, which is a 3, that's the beginning. That's the starting of a new cycle, in life. Welcome to adulthood, basically, is what that is. And that's like, and from there on, oh yeah, it gets fun. It's still, the stages still go, of course. You still got your, by the time you get to the ominous 3, which is a beginning stage, that's 30. That's when your brain sets, and that's when you become an officially an adult, because by then your brain's still set and you're kind of a young adult, but you're still an adult, but you're still a young adult until your brain actually sets, and then wow, Yeah, things become a little bit more real then.